They came to teach us. How they came to teach us affects who I am and what I do. This is Monica Kemp. What inspires me most about the fifth epochal revelation is the clarification of the origin, history, and destiny of our personal lives, as well as of our world and even of the grand universe. These revelations clearly explain why the world is in its present evolutionary stage, preventing the mistake of blaming God and providing a much fuller revelation of the Father of love. A long time ago, our Heavenly Father saw that we needed help. Herein lies the account of how we have been helped and taught by our unseen siblings, brothers and sisters, who hailed from and were given instructions to do so by our Paradise Father and his agents. About 500,000 years ago, after will, that's free will, the ability to choose the path of eternal survival had developed in the mind of primitive man. A planetary prince, his name was Caligastia, was sent forth from on high to promote the welfare of the human races. He arrived with an associate assistant, Delegastia was his name, a host of angelic and celestial beings, but the main core, the main group, the rematerialized members of this staff is known as the Caligastia 100, 50 males and 50 females. And now, the first epochal revelation, the first time that the Father has intervened in the affairs of our world. This group settled in the Persian Gulf region of those days, the district corresponding to later Mesopotamia, where a simple but beautiful city was built and designed to be the world center of culture and was named Dalmatia in honor of Delegastia. The staff of 100 had reproductive capabilities, but were given strict instructions and under certain conditions when to exercise that ability. The 100 were divided into 10 groups, which were autonomous, that means independent, and governed all aspects of society. Interestingly enough, they all had three-letter names, one of whom was Nod, who led the Commission on Industry and Trade. You have already heard of him in the Bible, and Van, whom you will meet in a few paragraphs. During this time, they established and taught 7 rules of living, which carried on to the days of Adam and Eve, into the time of Melchizedek, and ended up becoming part of the 10 Commandments. This code was known as the Father's Way and consisted of the following 7 commands. 1. You shall not fear nor serve any god but the Father of all. 2. You shall not disobey the Father's Son, the world's ruler, nor show disrespect to his superhuman associates. Now those are the ones that we just spoke about, Caligastia and Delegastia, and the 100 before the rebellion. 3. You shall not speak a lie when called before the judges of the people. 4. You shall not kill men, women, or children. 5. You shall not steal your neighbor's goods or cattle. 6. You shall not touch your friend's wife. 7. You shall not show disrespect to your parents or to the elders of the tribe. This was the law of Dalmatia for almost 300,000 years. and many of the stones on which this law was inscribed now lie beneath the waters off the shores of Mesopotamia and Persia. It became the custom to hold one of these commands in mind for each day of the week, using it for salutations and mealtime thanksgiving. What a great idea! However, this 300,000-year reign of Prince Caligastia was not to be the success that the system administration on high had envisioned and hoped for, as the two planetary leaders who fell so in love with themselves, caught up in personality pride, cast their lot in rebellion against our universe creator, their father. Thus, much havoc, and that means widespread destruction, ensued as angels fled back and forth between the camps of Gabriel, who volunteered to act as the representative of our Creator's son Michael, and Caligastia, representing the traitorous interests of Lucifer. Results: 40 members of the staff of 100, one of whom was Van, refused to join the insurrection. Almost one half of the seraphim assigned to our planet joined league with Caligastia, supporting Lucifer's cause. And over 4/5, 40,000 plus, of the primary midwayers sided with Caligastia. Sad days on our world looking down from above. This was the war in heaven we read about in the Bible. All communication circuits with the rest of the universe were severed. That means cut off. And the people resorted back to their early primitive ways, having lost the leadership of superhuman leaders. Now this part is so exciting for us as humans. The outstanding human hero of this rebellion is Amadon, the loyal associate of Van. This is hugely important for us, as he was only equipped with a minimum of intelligence and utterly devoid of universe experience. Sounds like you and me. But was able to remain steadfast. That means loyal and persistent in the service of the universe and in loyalty to his associate Van, both of whom had altered bodies benefiting of the tree of life, enabling him, that's Amadon, to coexist with Van for those 300,000 years. This is a quote: "If the Lucifer rebellion has handicapped the local system and its fallen worlds, if the loss of this sun," that's Lucifer, "and his misled associates has temporarily hampered," that means obstructed and set backward, "the progress of the constellation of Norlichadic, our constellation, then weigh the effect of the far-flung presentation of the inspiring performance of this one child of nature, Amadon, and his determined band of 143 comrades in standing steadfast for the higher concepts of universe management and administration in the face of such tremendous and adverse pressure exerted by his disloyal superiors. And let me assure you, this has already done more good in the universe of Nebadon and the super universe of Orvanton than can ever be outweighed by the sum total of all the evil and sorrow of the Lucifer rebellion. Wow. Contemplate this. The arrival of Adam and Eve This is the second epochal revelation. That means this is the second time that the Universal Father had decided to intervene in the affairs of our world. Almost 38,000 years ago now, a material son and daughter, known as Adam and Eve, arrived on our evolutionary world with the task of achieving racial harmony and social cooperation among its diverse races. This was to respond to and recover from the losses of the rebellion which had occurred over 200,000 years previously and had severely retarded the spiritual progress of humanity here. For ages, Adam and Eve had been instructed in the technique of improving a world in readiness for their specialized contributions to the advancement of evolutionary civilization. But now they were face to face with pressing problems, such as the establishment of law and order in a world of savages, barbarians, and semi-civilized human beings. And that is a quote. They taught too the 7 laws based upon the older codes of Dalmatia, although the moral law was little different from the 7 commandments of Dalmatia. There was progress as they included the teaching of the indwelling thought adjuster, the father fragment. Adam and Eve carried on in the garden for 117 years when, through the impatience of Eve and the errors of judgment of Adam, they presumed to turn aside from the ordained way, speedily bringing disaster upon themselves and ruinous retardation upon the developmental progression of all Urantia. You already know that Cain killed his brother Abel and cited in the Bible how he went off to the land of Nod, where he took himself a wife, thinking readers of the Bible ask themselves, where did this wife come from if Adam and Eve were the first 2 human beings on earth? Now we know, as well as who Nod was. And it was at the end of this era that our Creator Michael decided to carry out his final bestowal on our world, Urantia. This third epochal revelation was with Macaventa Melchizedek. It was 1973 years before the birth of Jesus that this emergency son, Melchizedek, bestowed himself on Urantia to breathe new life into the light of truth that seemed to be dwindling. He worked with and taught Abraham, becoming known as the Sage of Salem, priest of El Elyon, the Most High, furthering the concept of the one God in his role of world ministry amongst the Hebrew peoples in Palestine. He stayed 94 years here on earth, laying the foundations for the further uplift and spiritual rehabilitation of the peoples at the time. His teachings found their way abroad and did much good to expand the belief and faith in God. The 7 commandments promulgated by Melchizedek were patterned along the lines of the Dalmatian supreme law and very much resembled the 7 commands taught in the first and second Edens. These commands of the Salem religion were, and notice how they are similar to the Father's way, but how they've progressed. Number 1, you shall not serve any God but the Most High, creator of heaven and earth. 2, you shall not doubt that faith is the only requirement for eternal salvation. 3, you shall not bear false witness. 4, you shall not kill. 5, you shall not steal. 6, you shall not commit adultery. 7, you shall not show disrespect for your parents and elders. How these are coming closer to the 10 Commandments we know today. The teaching he left us was his great covenant with Abraham, which represents the great Urantian agreement between divinity and humanity, whereby God agrees to do everything. Man only agrees to believe God's promises and follow his instructions. Heretofore, it had been believed that salvation could be secured only by works, sacrifices, and offerings. Now, Melchizedek again brought to Urantia the good news that salvation, favor with God, is to be had by faith. Isn't this wonderful news to learn? God is no longer believed to be the angry or wrathful God of the olden Hebrew concept, as he has not need of gifts or sacrifice to appease or win favor with him, but asks us only to have faith in him. The fourth epochal revelation, the fourth time that the Father has desired to step in to help us with our beloved Jesus of Nazareth. If God, the Father of love in heaven, were to leave his throne on high and live his life among us here on earth, he would be, and was, called Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus did live his full earth life in the flesh to the satisfaction, approval, and complete revelation of our Father in paradise, revealing his love for us and the fact of his mercy. Along with this, he taught us to accept by faith that we are his sons. He is our Father, and to live accordingly. That is, how would sons of a loving Father behave? And towards their fellows of all human knowledge, the Urantia book tells us, that which is of greatest value is to know the religious life of Jesus and how he lived it. And did Jesus not say, I am the way, the truth, and the life? No one comes to the Father but through me. I and the Father are one. Jesus is God, and God is Jesus. The Urantia book, the fifth epochal revelation. This represents the fifth time that our Heavenly Father decided to intervene in the affairs of humankind, to right us on our path, just as he had done 4 times beforehand. This time in the form of revelation papers, completed at the end of the 1930s. Understand the difference between the Bible writers who were inspired by their love for God, as opposed to these papers which were commissioned, directed by God himself. But take counsel in these words from the Revelation. What a mistake for Christians to make when, in presenting Christ as the supreme ideal of spiritual leadership, they dare to require God-conscious men and women to reject the historic leadership of the God-knowing men who have contributed to their particular national or racial illumination during past ages. In 196 papers, authored by beings not just of this world, we are taught and gifted with descriptions that have been adapted to our understanding of the Paradise personalities. as well as those of the grand universe, the creation of our universal Father, the God of all. Included in these revelations from the celestial beings who have undertaken this monumental task of eternal importance is the history of our local universe, the creation of Michael and Jesus, and its administration, the complete history of our world, Urantia, as it is known on celestial records. And the most valuable part in the hearts of most of us, Part 4, the life and teachings of Jesus, a restatement of his life as told by those beings who were around at that time and still are, who have perfect memory and records of his sayings and doings. Throughout all of these papers, the source of all the preceding information, we are taught and assured of how much the Father loves us, such that he actually has taken up residence within each of our minds in order to be personally present with us. We see how the universe of universes are all administered and function by this all-encompassing, infinitely divine love, and is designed to help us step by step to attain him, both here and in our eternal future. Now that you know the 5 times our world has been visited by God in the forms of his trusted sons and daughter, how does this help you to see the history of our planet, Urantia, and understand what you are living today in your part of the world?